Hi, it's Tuesday at 6:30, so it's time again for What We're Reading. I'm very excited to have with you two program professionals. We have Kip, I've got my head tilt right now, and Diane from Kent District Library's Programming Department. They bring fabulous programs to all 20 of our branches, and they are amazing. Before we start, can I ask you both one question? And I didn't tell them this beforehand, so I'm evil. Can you tell me which program in your history at KDL are you most proud of?
Ooh, oh,
There's so many, but the obvious one for me is KDL. So
Okay, now tell everybody what KDAL
yeah,
is.
so it's brewery programs that we do with local brewers. We do tours, so you can get a behind the scenes look at the different brewers we have around town. We have homebrew contest where you can obviously homebrew your own beer and possibly get it made by one of the big awesome breweries that we partner with, and lots of other things. And we've had to not do it as much because of COVID, but it's coming back in a few weeks actually. So we're going to be running it through this winter, and it's a very innovative program. When we started it like 6 years ago or whatever, people were like, "Why in the world are you doing this?" So it's one of our most fun programs. Yeah.
It is. It's a way that we're part of the community, and it's something we bring book clubs to some of the breweries too. So there's a fun crossover, and we have a great time. So look out for those at kdl.org/events. Look out for some KDL events. Okay, you're on the hot spot now, Diane. What program are you the most proud of?
Sunday Afternoon Live. 5 years that I hosted that at Cascade were just absolutely awesome. Just bringing, and you were involved with it too. We're grateful for your help for that. But just bringing live music into a small venue and for free, and it was so much fun working with the artists. And in fact, I was at a festival in September, and I got to meet one of the artists that we had brought in like 3 or 4 years ago, and they're from Ireland, and it was just so much fun. I hadn't seen them since then, and it was just great.
I remember those fondly, and I'm hoping for more musical events. There were great Sundays at Cascade in the fall and winter and early spring, and there's great concerts there were at the Kentwood Library and other libraries too.
Well, and you're even starting a little bit of that at Ada now too.
Yes.
So I'm excited.
Courtyard concerts. So I know if you're like me, you've missed live music during COVID, and Rolling Stones were back at the Ford Center last night or the night before. So coming back. And I want to say that in a comment section, we have a comment from The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks Traveling Museum. They say, hello, KDL. We say hello to you. Love that book. Is one of our core books. The Traveling Museum sounds fascinating. We should look into that, Kip. But enough about programming, because this is my show. So I'm going to start with Kip, and I'm going to ask my question. Kip, what are you reading?
All right, so I brought a fantasy book for you, a sci-fi. This is Terry Miles' Rabbits.
Rabbits. That is a really interesting looking rabbit on the cover.
Yeah, it is his first book, and I read it because one of my favorite sci-fi guys, Cory Doctorow, talked it up. Yeah, he's written Makers and a bunch of really amazing things, but Terry Miles' first novel, and it's very much for fans of like Ready Player One and some of those books. I'm excited to have found another kind of Ready Player One-ish book. So the book is about, the main character is about K, just goes by his first initial, and he has been playing a game for a long time. Sometimes he's known he's been in the game. Sometimes he hasn't even known. It's a game that happens in the real world. There's not really rules. You may or may not know that you're playing it. It's a very esoteric kind of like floaty thing out there. But basically there has been this game that people have won for years. There's rumors that it's happened forever. And Kay happens to be the foremost expert of this game. And what the game is, it's basically recognizing patterns and finding weird anomalies, like things that shouldn't quite be in this world. So it's kind of sort of like if you've heard of the Mandela effect and people who think like Berenstain Bears versus Berenstein Bears, like that's even in this book. So yeah, so that's kind of like it's noticing these patterns and then going off on this thing. Suddenly, though, things start happening weird with the game, and one of the winners suddenly shows up at the arcade that Kay does his speaking about this and says, you are the one who has to save this game. You are the only one that can do it because it's breaking. And then he starts finding out that people are disappearing, people are dying. And actually the winner, the day after he pops up and talks to Kay, he disappears and nobody knows where he is. So it gets totally weird. It has a very pop culture connection, kind of like Ready Player One. So the patterns are mostly found in like video games, art pieces, music, like obscure albums, like that type of thing, like books and novels. And you notice something that like shouldn't be somewhere, and then that connects to something else that shouldn't be somewhere, and then it's a whole game. Anyway, it's very, very good. It's one of the things I've liked most in quite a while. One of my favorite ones.
So where do the rabbits come in?
So the game is, you are not, like Fight Club, you're not supposed to talk about the game, but apparently one of the places where the game began, there was a picture of a rabbit painted on the wall. So which is now covered up by a painting, but apparently if you're nice to the person, she'll take the painting off, you can see the rabbit. And so people who are rabid about this game and are like the big fans of it, call it rabbits for shorthand.
Okay.
That's where the rabbit comes in.
Got it. So only those really in the know about the rabbits.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I always ask this question about sci-fi books because there's such a great crossover with teens. Is this appropriate for a teen to read this book?
It is appropriate for teen, yeah. And there's nothing untoward in it, or it's not very adult. It's a pretty easy read. It's a little long. It took me a while to get through, but it's not a difficult read at all.
Most science fiction fantasy are long. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Except for Isaac Asimov. He was very...
Right. The short stories, which are really good. Yeah.
Thanks for your first one, Kip. Okay, Diane, it's your turn now. What you reading?
I have been working through a book that arrived on my doorstep literally in June. And it is called, let me put this up here, Todd Reed, 50 Years Seeing Michigan Through a Lens. So I am a huge sucker for coffee table books. I love coffee table books. And if it's a photography book, I'm all over it. And if it's a photography book on Michigan, I probably own it. But the Reeds are a father and son photographic team out of Ludington, and they have continued just to do some awesome work. And this Todd has been doing this now professionally for 50 years. This is his biography and a retro look back at some of his favorite photos. Behind me, I have a very oversized canvas print of God's Light, which was actually the first print that I bought from the Reeds many, many, many years ago. But my house is filled with their photography because it just speaks to me. They do a lot with Lake Michigan and lighthouses and the woods and nature and flowers and animals, but whatever Todd takes a photograph of, I just feel like I'm a part of it. When the wind is blowing out on Lake Michigan, I feel the wind and the spray on my face. And there's not many people who can bring me into their photos like they do. And so I have been working through this book, and it's absolutely a delight. I can't spend too much time with it because it's too overwhelming. It's too emotional.
Wow. See, now I was lucky enough to go to the program when you had Todd and Brad Reed at the Cascade branch, and they were fabulous to listen to. I would love to have them back.
Yes, they're awesome.
Just to talk about how they do it, how they go to these places, and the time you think, oh, it's not just to snap your Apple phone.
Well, and they do use their phones for a lot of their photographs. But the thing that I love about them, and I follow them very closely on Facebook, but the thing that I love about them is that they're so willing to share their heart and their skills with you. So they talk about the magic light. So when I'm out and about, I think, what does the light look like? Can it be any better? Wait for that cloud to come over the sun. Go in 3 steps closer. make sure you have something in the foreground. So even me being just totally not artistic at all with my silly little iPhone camera, I feel even my skills have gotten a little bit better, but that's because of how giving Todd is and wanting to teach people this skill and this love. He just shares it so openly, and it's just wonderful.
Now, am I making this up, or do they have like a studio that people can visit?
They have a gallery on Ludington Avenue, right in downtown Ludington. So you can walk in and you can see huge, absolutely huge pieces, or you can see them very small. And you could choose. You can go through any of their 8 books and choose it that way. But they're just, and the thing is when you go in there and talk to them, it's like family. They just come up and talk to you, and it's just, to me, it's just small town Michigan. I just feel so at home, and I feel so comfortable.
And if you might balk at the price of some of those large coffee table books, not that I would want to chisel Todd and Brad Reed out of the money, but I'm very grateful that KDL does own and circulate a lot of their coffee table books, so you can bring them home and share. You know what I did is I shared it with when I had guests from out of state.
Yes.
It's a great way to have that on the coffee table then, and just say, believe it or not, everything in this book is actually in Michigan.
Exactly. And you can go visit it, and it's just wonderful. I oftentimes I'm going through and I'll look at something. I was there. I saw that. I felt it. Or you go back like to Point Betsy and you go, okay, now I remember how the Reeds set this up. I wonder where they were standing. And so you get it from both sides. It's just really great.
So at the library, keep an eye out for those coffee table books. Often they're in the catalog as oversized, and very often they're put on the bottom shelf because they don't quite fit. They're a little too tall for the shelves, and they are fabulous. I have found if you have anyone in your life who has Alzheimer's and has memory issues or dementia, sharing with them a big photographic, beautiful coffee table book that may or may not evoke some memories is a wonderful thing to share. It's not like sometimes when you read them a book or a story, they can get lost and get frustrated that they can't remember what's happening. But to just open that up and show them a picture of something that they kind of recognize. I have had just their faces light up when I go visit them and show them those. And I brought Todd and Brad Reed to one of my senior centers with the Alzheimer's unit, and it's very popular.
Yeah, that is a really great idea, Penny, and they're so evocative. They bring out memories and they bring out emotions so well. And I have a very old library atlas stand in my house that I've refinished, and so my Reed books are stored there, and then I swap out the ones on top. But I always have a book open on the top, so when people come over, it's like, what does she have it open to now? And one of my nephews came by recently, and he's kind of flipping through it. This is really cool. This is really cool. And it's like, yeah, you could do this.
Okay, so our first books, hold them both up again, please. Just because people accuse me of not showing titles. So Diane's Todd Reed, 50 Years Seeing, and Kip has Terry Miles' book, Rabbits. Thank you. And Kip has another book to share with us.
All right. Yep. Here's my last one. So this is Taylor Moore. This is another first novelist. It's his first novel. It's called Downrange, and it's going to be a series. So it's a Garrett Cole novel. Garrett Cole is the main character, and this is more of a thriller. So this is about a DEA agent who is stationed in Afghanistan, and the book starts, he sees a horrible thing and he's not supposed to intervene, but he saves an Afghan child who then the government wants to protect, and they're not certain what to do with him. So they allow the character Garrett to bring him back to the United States and basically hide out with him for a while they can figure out how to keep him safe back in Afghanistan. So he goes back to his home in Texas, to his very ornery father, and kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And once he gets back, you learn some of his backstory. He kind of has a lot of fences to mend and that type of thing. But he finds out that there are some bad things happening in his town, and especially to his brother. So his brother is a lawyer who made one mistake with a company who's running some drugs and doing some other things. And now he's in trouble and needs Garrett to kind of step in. So it's just a really good thriller. It's really great. It's a book that definitely has heart as they take care of this child who's taken just completely away from his family, had a horrible situation happen to him, and has to figure out how to live in Texas after having growing up completely across the world. So it's really good. I found it because I'm obsessed with Longmire. I don't know if you know that series by Craig Johnson. I've read them all. They're the best. And every modern Western mystery I find, there's a lot of good ones. Nobody is Craig Johnson. This is the closest I've come to finding a Longmire replacement. So I'm very excited for the series to continue. And apparently the rest of the series, I'm sort of spoiling, it'll probably take place in Texas is my feeling after reading the book. So it will kind of fill that modern Western genre.
And Kip, does KDL classify it as a Western?
No, it's just in regular fiction.
Okay, so that's good to know. Hold that up, because I have a lot of readers of Westerns who sometimes run out because I don't think they're writing as many Westerns anymore. So if you're a Western lover, here's a new author for you, Taylor Moore, and you won't find him browsing in the Western area. So that's very good to know. It also sounds, because you said it started in Afghanistan, is it present day?
It is present day.
So was there a war element to it too?
There is. Yeah, that's why the main character Garrett is there. He's part of the military.
Okay.
Yep. And then so technically when he's sent back to Texas with his child, he's still working for the military. It's just all these personal things happen as well. And then that kind of changes and, mutates as the story goes on too.
So I'm seeing a lot of blurring of things, appeals that people would like this, lovers of the war stories and the Westerns. And is there any romance thrown in there too, Kim?
Of course, there's a little. Yeah, it's a little genre bending because it's got that Western vibe, mystery, thriller, and it's got a bit of the military stuff in it too. So,
okay, is it for the faint of heart? Is there any bloodshed, swearing, or
it's like a moderate book for a thriller. So It's not like super bloody, but it's not it's not a cozy read by any means. It's
okay, great.
Kind of trying to think who to compare it to, but it's like a regular thriller. Similar, it is Craig Johnson-esque in that, where there's some violence and stuff going on, but that's not the point of the story.
So maybe PG rated.
That's fair.
Gotcha. I'm going to take a quick hi to Joe. Everybody, hi, Joe. He's a regular. And Jermaine Jackson says, Diane, I love Michigan picture books. So yay, Jermaine. We do too. Diane, did you have another book to share? Or
no, I've been working through this one since June. So
well, you guys are fantastic. I want to thank you for all the wonderful work you do putting on programs in all of our branches. And I can't wait to see them, I hope, become more populated again as things hopefully quiet down and we get more people in our branches doing fun things, getting together, getting to know each other, talking to each other, listening to music maybe. So thank you, programming group, and thanks for sharing what you're reading with us tonight. We only have 2 more What You're Readings to go, so join me next Tuesday for some librarians from the Comstock Park, Plainfield area, and that'll be lots of fun. So we'll see you next week.
Great.
Thank you.